Okay, welcome to our penultimate class, which is basically a review of classes 7 to 11 of Journey to Selfless Self. The first section of the course was called Being Human. That was classes 1 to 5. Then we did a review. And then classes 7 till 11 is called Being Jewish. And that's what we're going to go through today. So this is going to be very intense, high-powered Chazara. So we've seen the ideas, hopefully. So we'll still try and give them over in as much detail as we can, time permitting. Okay, so I did a review of the review. I did a summary of the summary, and I found out that's called a meta summary, if you were interested in such a thing. So the meta summary of these 5 classes basically boils down to 6 questions. The 6 questions that we discussed in this chalik of the course is, what's the difference in a Jew and a non-Jew? What does it mean that Am Yisrael are the chosen nation? What is the Torah? What does it mean God is one? What is the purpose of creation? And what is the difference between our generation and previous generations? Kind of fundamental questions. And the truth is they're not wishy-washy answers as well. Through the learning that we've done, Baruch Hashem, we've got real answers to these questions. And let's jump in. Okay. So we gave the definition of a Jew. Yeah. The definition of a Jew, remember?
A human being with a neshama?
Human being with a neshama. And the definition of a goy?
Human being.
Yeah, that's it. So it's interesting because what's the difference between when we talk about the human element of the Jew compared to the non-Jew? Really, what's the difference? How different is it? The difference is really, to give an idea, it's like the difference in a treif piece of meat and a kosher piece of meat. Meaning you wouldn't be able to tell the difference in any way. It would taste the same, it looks the same, it smells the same, it costs the same maybe. You can't tell the difference whatsoever. One's treif, one's kosher. That's literally the difference between the human element of the Jew and a non-Jew. Literally, that's the difference. So the human part is not really different. Slightly it is different, but it's not really different. For all intents and purposes, from our perspective, it's hardly different at all. Okay, we need the same kind of we need to eat. You need to eat and sleep and drink. We love. We need all the other things that we need. That's my friend joining us. Fine. So on a human level, there really isn't much difference. What does make the difference is the fact that a Jew is shaykh to a nefesh elokis, the Jewish soul. Why is that called why? The definition of a Jew is a human being that has a nefesh elokis. So you ask the question, well, can't a goy have a nefesh elokis? Well, no, because if a goy had a nefesh elokis, he'd be a Jew. So what is the nefesh elokis? So the nefesh elokis we gave 2 mashalim. You remember what the mashalim were for the nefesh elokis?
Maybe just remind us.
Yeah. So the mashalim for the nefesh elokis is, number 1 is a field of apples. That each apple is a neshama. And the field is called the Shechina Kadosha. That you can call that Hashem if you want. Yeah. The field is the on Shabbos we sing Askina Sudasa. Hakal Tapuchin, we talk about the field of apples. If you see this, you say that song for the Arizal. Yeah, that's really referring to the apples of the individual neshamas, and the field itself is the Shechina. Then there's another which you could call Hashem for all intents and purposes. The other moshel, another good moshel, is when you're looking out over the ocean and it's a sunny day and you see endless little sparkles of light, the entire place. So again, it's just they're just reflections from the sun, and in the moshel, the sun is Hashem. So really, the Jew is a human being that has shaykh to it, him, her, a, a piece of God, whatever that means. But that's really what it is. So there's an aspect of the Jew that is not of creation, it's of creator. That's very important. So a Jew is the being that bridges the gap between creation and creator. Why? Because you are of creation, but you're also of creator. So you are the one, we are the one, we're like the glue. We're the glue that stick creation to creator. That's how fundamental Am Yisrael is. Okay? So he described the purpose of a human being to use their mind. What the difference between a human and an animal basically is intellect. Okay, that's what makes a human being human. It's called a medaber, that he speaks, and that's to do with intellect. So what makes a human being human is that he has intellect. So the human being, not the Jew, the human has a chiyuv, how do you say that? A obligation to use his or her intellect to come to a recognition of other human beings. That's the purpose of the non-Jew. That's their personal purpose, to come to the recognition that other human beings really exist. And a very, very worked out human being will come to the conclusion that other human beings exist more than he does himself or she does herself, that they care more about other human beings than they do for themselves. Okay? That's a very elevated human being, okay, in a healthy way. The Jew, on the other hand, that should come naturally to a Jew. The problem is it doesn't, we see, because we've been caught up in so much humanness. You know, we've been in gullus for so long with human beings that we've become alienated from our natural self in many ways. But the natural, a factory, you know, out of the factory default human Jew, the human element of him or her appreciates another human being already. So that's obviously not your purpose in the world. So what's your purpose? The purpose of the Jew is to come to an appreciation of the Ribbono Shel Olam, that the Ribbono Shel Olam should eventually become more real to you than you are to yourself. So the non-Jew is striving to make human beings more real to him or herself than he is to himself, or she is to herself. The Jew, who naturally should be experiencing that at some level, the purpose of the Jew is to make Hashem more real to him or herself than he is or she is to him or herself. Okay, very clear, yeah? That's the difference between the Jew and the non-Jew. And then we went on, that was basically class 7. Class 8 was understanding what it means by being the chosen people. And this is a very, I mean, I can imagine, ask 100 Jews what it means that we're the chosen people, and you'll be pushed to find any real good answers from anyone. It's a very elusive, what does it mean we're the chosen people? Like, chosen for what? And chosen from what? But how did he choose us? So the chosen people, the way I've learned this from my Rebbe, is a very different idea than what I always thought it was. The idea of choice, so you have to make a distinction between Bechira and Bechira Chofshis, between choice and free choice. Because on a certain level, an animal has the ability to choose. Like an animal can choose between eating this food and eating that food. Put 2 different bowls of food in front of your cat, and you'll see the cat will look at that and go, no, you know, go and eat the other one. So an animal can also choose. So what's the difference between choice and free choice? And it's really in the words. Free choice means you're really free to choose. You're not compelled. It's about you. It's not about it. That's what choice is. So choice being about it means you've got a choice between, like the moshel we've always given, is someone offers you the choice between taking $100 bill and a $10 bill. Do you have a choice? You don't have a choice. You're compelled by your intellect to take the $100 bill. The $100 bill is making you take it. You've got no option, really. You're compelled. Now, we can make it more complicated. Like, let's say now it's between a $100 bill and $90 in coins. Now it's not so clear cut, but it's the same thing. You have to, I would probably go, sorry, the other way. If it was $100 in coins and $90 in notes, yeah, I could imagine I'd probably take the $90 in notes, yeah. Like, who wants $100 in coins and, you know, for $10 as well? So everyone's going to be making a cheshbon, but it's the same thing. Some people, you know, very, very poor person, again, that would be no choice. A very, very poor person is like, what are you talking about? I'm schlep 100. I'm not going to pay $10 to not schlep around a bunch of coins. Yeah. Whereas somebody who's got more money would be, well, you know, my cheshbon is v'chule. That's not free choice. That's called shikal adas. That's called choice, not free choice. That's a very human thing. It's a very intelligent thing. So animals who have a rudimentary level of intelligence, they also are privy to that level. But a human being is not privy to free choice. Now, by understanding free choice, we understand what it means by we're the chosen people. So free choice, a good like moshel, it's not really a moshel, like a whatever you call it, is when I've gone to, I asked somebody to give me a 20 shekel bill. He gave me his 20 shekel bill. I turned around, I pulled out my own 20 shekel bill from my pocket, and I went to him like this. And I said, here, choose one. And it was 20 shekel bills. And it's funny to do such a thing. His brain kind of shorted and he didn't know what to do. He was like frozen. And I looked at him and said, by the way, this one is yours. And immediately he took his one back. It's just a moshel. But free choice means it's about you, not about it. It's something about you that you see in it. So you're choosing yourself. That's what free choice means. It's about you. It's not about it. Because those 20 shekel bills, this guy was compelled to take his one back. But then I turn around to you and I say, here, take one. You'll do something to try and choose one from the other. The other guy, once he knew which one was his, that was it. And that's what it means, the chosen people. The chosen people means not that he chose us because we were cleverer, because we were more humble, because we were more beautiful, because we were richer, because we were funnier. Nothing like that at all. Him choosing us meant that he saw himself in us. That was the choice. The neshama got given originally it got given really to Avram Avinu, to Adam Arishon, and it went down to Hevel and through Meshushalach and through Hanoich and through a whole 10 generations went to Noach, but none of them really had it. Yeah, it wasn't theirs. Then Avraham got the neshama, and he really worked hard to serve Hashem on a human level. And because he worked so hard, Hashem made it that him and the neshama actually merged and they became one. And then it got even more with Yitzhak and then even more with Yaakov, to the point where all of Yaakov's children were Jewish. Yitzhak also had Esav, yeah, and Avram had Ishmael. At that point, that meant that the Jewish neshama had become merged, completely merged now with the Yid, with the person. And it was at Matan Torah that Hashem saw that. So when it says he chose us, it's not really that he chose us. It's more like he chose himself. It was him in us. That's what it means we're the chosen people. That we are, like we said earlier, that the Yidden are the bridge between creator and creation. We are the glue that holds them together, because we got, like, in a sense, You can say we've got our feet on the ground and our head in the clouds, or you can say we've got one foot in creation and one foot in creator, however you want to define it. But that's what it means that he chose in us, that we have a piece of him. Not that we're better than anyone or nicer or kinder or funnier. That might also be true as well. But that's not what it meant that he chose us. Choosing us is much deeper than, it's a funny story. My wife just went to a wedding. An older girl just got married. She was about 41, 42, something like that. And this woman's from Manchester, and Manchester in England. And they're very real, lovely people in Manchester. And my wife comes up to the mother and she says, you know, your daughter is just, she's wonderful. Imagine you'd say the same thing. She's wonderful. I love her. Etc. You know what the mother said to her? She said, I mean, she's my daughter, so I love her, but what's so special about her? That's what she said. I thought it was wonderful. It was amazing. What an amazing thing for a mother to say. I love her because she's my daughter. It's not because she's special. It's not because she can do tricks, you know, like a dog. It's not like she's got something, you know, that's okay. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't. I don't care. You hear the beauty of that statement? It's you know, my wife was kind of shocked when she said it to me. I smiled so profoundly, like, wow, that's so lovely. A mother loves her child because she's her daughter. And she thinks she's like a normal person, but I love her because she's my daughter. That's like what it is. That's really like our relationship with the show. Like it could be we're also very impressive. That could also be, but that's not what it's about. What, you love your impressive children more than your less impressive children? Chas v'shalom. It's not about qualities. It's about the person. Yeah, that's our relationship. That's Am Yisrael's relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's being called the chosen people. Okay, class 9. What is Torah and mitzvahs? What is Torah? Anyone can answer that question in one word? Or in 2 words? His will and his wisdom. But primarily we'll call it his will. It's what he wants. That's what Torah is. So the way that we understand it in Chassidus is that Hashem wants his mitzvahs like you want to live. Your desire to live is not predicated on any reason. It just is. And that's analogous, so to speak, to Hashem's desire for mitzvahs. It's not, there's no reason. They're well beyond reason. Just like we want to live, the Rebbeinu Shalom wants his mitzvahs. And the Torah is his ratzon, his will, basically revealed to us. That's what it is. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to show you I actually, since our class, I did something extra. One moment. Yeah. So, does everyone remember this thing that we did here? Yeah. So this is Yankee up here. Yankee's first will is to live. That's really everything that's him. He wants to live. Now his mind has transformed that desire to live into 3, like we call that intelligent wills. These have a reason. What's the reason why he values time? Anyone can answer that question? What's the reason why Yankee values time?
Because he wants to live.
Yeah, exactly. Because he wants to live, and he has somehow, because of his nature, nurture, whatever, he's come to the conclusion that being careful with time is equal to life and health and education. Now these intelligent wills get converted into values, because just caring about time, that's a bit like abstract, a bit, touchy-feely, yeah? So that becomes that like transforms, so to speak, or comes in close in values. Okay, now these are things that can express themselves as behaviors. Okay, now I did this, you didn't see this, but this is one that I made in the same sense, but a little bit more holy. Okay, so instead of Yankee, we have Hashem. Okay, what does Hashem want? Hashem wants Yichud. I made this up, so I don't know if it's true, but it might be. Okay, Hashem wants Yichud. That he's about Achdus. That's all he wants. He just wants Achdus. He's a big Chevra man, mamash. Okay, he wants Achdus. Yeah, now that becomes Shalom, Emes, and Din. Okay, like it says in the Mishnah, the Olam is Omed on three things: Shalom, Emes, and Din. And now these three things, this is my own creation. I kind of stimmed them with the Aseret Dibrus. Okay, so under MS came don't take his name in vain, Anoichi Hashem, no idolatry, and honor your parents. Under Shalom is don't covet, don't commit adultery, and remember Shabbos. Under Din is don't lie, don't steal, don't kill. Okay, and now all of these, the 10 commandments, I mean, I've written it here as one thing, but they all branch off into the Tayag mitzvahs. And the Tayag mitzvahs branch off into endless halachas and minhagim and gezeras and takanas v'chulei v'chulei. Are you with me? So these are the mitzvahs. So now the difference between Yankee here and Hashem here, this is very important. This is the main difference, is that Yankee is a creation, yeah? And as such, his experience is in relation to creation. Because there's such a thing as time, and there's such a thing as health, and there's such a thing as education, Yankee thinks that that's life. So therefore, there's another thing in creation called planning and acting with efficiency, exercise, diet, and teaching. Another thing that he's now incorporated into his outlook, etc., and that turns into all these behaviors. But by Hashem, it works the exact opposite round, the exact opposite way round. Because he wants Yichud, that, so to speak, creates Shalom, Emes, and Din. And that, in turn, creates, so to speak, the 10 Commandments. And that, in turn, creates, so to speak, the 613 mitzvahs. And the 613 mitzvahs create the world. Meaning, the reason why there's grass is because we need cows for tefillin and we need to eat meat on Yom Tov. The reason why there's a moon is so that we can have Rosh Chodesh and we can have Pesach in its time. The reason why there's sea is so that there can be fish, so we have something to eat, so we can eat fish on Shabbos. Yeah, the reason why the world looks as it does is because of the mitzvahs. With Yankee, this was all a reaction to the world. In Hashem, the world is a reaction to this chart. You with me? And that's what it means when Chazal said, Histakel b'oraisa ubari alma. He gazed into the Torah and created the world. That's exactly what it means. Okay? Is that clear? Okay. So he just said, to get it clear, what's more choshev, Torah or mitzvahs? And the answer is, the answer is that learning Torah is more choshev because it brings you to mitzvahs, which really means mitzvahs are more choshev. That's what Chazal said. So the analogy is, and this is a really good analogy, like we said, your father loves to hear you sing. And he sits down and he tells you about that certain song that you sing and the way you do that little bit, and the way when you say it over here, and the way you look when you say it, and he's telling you all these things. He's got his arm around you, and you're feeling very very close with him, and it's a very special experience as he's telling you how much he loves to hear you sing, as opposed to you actually singing when he might not even be here. You might be doing it into a microphone for him, into a recorder for him to listen to later. What's the greater experience for you? Obviously, having your father telling you about how much he loves to hear you sing. That's more for you. The singing is for him. And that's the difference in Torah mitzvahs. Learning Torah is like having your father telling you exactly what he loves. Doing mitzvahs is doing it. You're doing what he loves. He also loves you to learn. He also wants you to learn. So there's a mitzvah there as well. So that's very choshev, very choshev. But that's the difference between Torah and mitzvahs. Is Torah, so to speak, is listening to Hashem's ratzon, and mitzvahs is fulfilling his ratzon. And that's really the deepest connection we have with anyone. The deepest connection you have with anyone is when you fulfill their ratzon. Okay, moving right along. Class 10, divine unity and God's dwelling below. Yeah, dir b'tachtonim. That's the purpose of creation. That he had a desire, a unreasonable, not sublogical, but superlogical reason, or superlogical above reason, that he wanted to dwell in the lowest realms, which is this world that we experience with our senses. That's where he wants to come to. Okay, what does it mean, divine? What does it mean, Hashem Echad? We say Shema Yisrael Hashem Echad. That refers to what we call Yehuda Ilah, which means the higher unity. And that is basically like the unity of white light. Within white light, I mean, a good example is the screen that you're looking at right now, yeah? You know what it's composed of? It's basically a massive white light, yeah? And then in front of that white light is this layer of pixels, which is loads and loads of colored little squares that change color. And we know that when you put a filter in front of white light, what it does is it blocks out all the other colors. Within white light is comprised all the colors of the spectrum. That's a rainbow. A rainbow is that the sun, which is white light, refracts off of the water, and it splits into the spectrum of all the colors of the rainbow, because white light is composed of all the colors of the rainbow. That's what white light is. It's completely one, but within it, it has all the colors of the rainbow. So now when you put a filter in front of that white light, that filter stops all the other colors in the white light, and that blue filter will allow just the blue light to go through. So when you have a blue filter allowing the blue element of the white light to go through, and then you put a red filter, put them in front of the blue filter, what will happen? No light will come through, because the blue blocked out all of the other colors, including the red. The red blocks out the blue, but there's nothing left, so it's finished. No more light. So within white light, you have everything. So when you're looking at your screen and you're seeing me and all the different colors and etc., really all of that is within the white light in potential. You with me? It's just every time you look at a picture, wherever there's a color that you see, that little pixel is blocking all of the other colors of light. So within the white light, if you were to rip away the film of the layer of the pixels, there would just be a big white light. And in truth, every single image you could ever see exists within that white light. 100%. It's not like some kind of spooky, mystical idea. Lemaisa, Every single image that you could ever see on your screen exists within that white light. That's Yehuda Ilah. Just one. This whole world is non-existent in Yehuda Ilah. It's just, there's just one. Yeah. Now there's also Yehuda Tatar, the lower unity, which is Boshen Mahus Olam, and that we can describe as organizational unity. Organizational unity, and for that we have another little graphic to look at. One moment. Everybody remembers this guy here? Yeah, with Alphabet and Google and YouTube, technical support, data management solutions, data processing and analytics faculty, user behavior, yeah, personnel, Gary, and then we went down to digestive system, mouth, tongue, taste buds, taste receptors, taste cells, nucleus, down to oxygen atom, down to electrons, yeah. And then on the other side, we went up again, yeah, to Alphabet is with Apple and Amazon, Microsoft. They're part of the Department of Commerce, which is part of the United States. And then eventually it's all going to be under Melech Mashiach with the Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why it's called Melech Malchei HaMelachim, the King of Kings of Kings. Why don't you just call him Melech HaMelachim, the King of Kings? That's how you translate it. But the actual translation, the true translation, is the King of Kings of Kings. Yeah, that's referring to this. Exactly the idea. That's called Yehuda Tatar. That's the lower level unity. It's when it's organizational unity. It's when the world is working as it's meant to be working, as a finely tuned, finely oiled, what's the word? Cohesive organism. And that is called one. That is a unity. Just like your body, you are one. But when you think about it, your body is one. But your body is made up of all these different limbs and organs and systems. And then, well, then your heart is one. Yeah, but your heart is made of these different fibers and muscles and valves. And well, then that valve is one, but that's made up of different sinews and cells and etc. So that there's a unity on each level, and it's always part of a multiplicity. That's really what Hashem is about. He's about making the multiplicity a unity. In the Lashon of Hasidus, we call that turning the Rishusa Rabbim into a Rishusa Yachid. The public domain, Rabbim, which means multiplicity, into a Rishusa Yachid means Yachid, private, but means into a Yichud, into a unity. Hashem Mamash is all about unity. You can see from Chazal, it says over and over. He says, as long as Am Yisrael are one with, if we're all one, he's Mavata on Avodah Zarah. He would rather us all be one and be over the Avodah Zarah than the opposite. That's how much he cares about unity. That's why I wrote in that picture Yichud at the top of that thing. That's Yehuda Ilan, Yehuda Tatar. Okay, so being a dir b'tachtonim, remember we said, what is it that makes you feel comfortable in someone's house? Remember we spoke about how it would be you could visit someone's house and feel uncomfortable. If like when you come in, they're like, just make sure you take your shoes off and don't go in that room, please. And please don't help yourself to the food. If you want something, ask me, I'll come and I'll help you, yeah? You're all of a sudden, you'll feel horrible. You won't feel comfortable. Why? Because they are more real to themselves than you are. When someone comes into your house and you say to them, guys, or whatever it is, this is your house. Yeah, you do as you wish. Take whatever you want. Make yourself mamash at home. That's called making yourself at home. Make yourself at home means help yourself. This is your house. That's what I mean by make yourself at home. That's what it means, a dir b'tachtonim, is becoming hospitable to Hashem. He made this world. He gave it to us. and now he's knocking on the door to ask to be a guest. That's basically how it works. And the more real he is to you, the more you, so to speak, invite him in. That's the dir b'tachtonim. So dir b'tachtonim is really referring to a marriage. That's what dir means. Dir does not mean like a dormitory. It means a home. It means a home. And that is the reason why Yichud Hashem and dir b'tachtonim are basically the same idea. Why? Because in marriage, it's not that your husband is the best guy. Your husband is the only guy. There is no other man in the world. That's how it's meant to be. Not that he's better than every other man. Yeah, that's irrelevant. He might be better, he might be worse. That's not the point. There is no other man. Just like a man, there's no other woman. That's a real marriage. So Yichud Hashem and dir b'tachtonim is the same idea. The more you get it into your mind, into your heart, that your husband is the only man, he's one. There's all that's all there is, yeah? Then the more he becomes real to you, and the more the relationship becomes a real relationship, and then he feels comfortable. And vice versa. He does the same for you. And you feel comfortable. And that's a relationship. And that's what it means, dir b'tachtonim. So the idea of getting really clear on Hashem's unity and dir b'tachtonim, having a place for Hashem in the lower realms, is the same thing. It's mamash the same idea. Is that clear? Okay. And to finish off, the last thing is basically we discussed really what was it the Baal Shem Tov brought to the world. And remember, none of this stuff is Hasidus. Nothing. And like I've said many times, I've met guys with trimmed beards, without payers, who are much more Hasidish than guys with, even with soup in their beards and the crusty payers and the whole thing, yeah? I've met guys without beards who are much more Hasidish than that. Yeah, it's really nothing at all to do with calling yourself a this Hasid or a that Hasid. Nothing at all. In fact, that could in many ways be the exact opposite of Hasidus. In many ways, the exact opposite. Hasidus, we said, is essence. Remember, we spoke about the idea of your shame, your name, and your essence. There's you, and there's all the stuff that you have and all the stuff that you do. Yeah? The you is, you can't talk about that. There's nothing to talk about. The way to say it is there's no thing to talk about. You are no thing. Your body's a thing. Your car's a thing. Your intellect is a thing. Your emotions are things. All of this stuff is things. Or everything else is things. You are not a thing. You're a person. And you can't talk about that. You're a being. There's nothing to say. Nothing to say about that. It's like Hashem in a sense. Hasidus is relating to yourself through all of that's why the Baal Shem Tov was called the Baal Shem Tov. Remember, Tov means transparent or surrendered or selfless, whatever. He was the Baal Shem Tov. His shame, everything about him had just become completely transparent to who he was. That's called Toichoi Kaboiroi. That means that your insides are like your outside. That means we see you are that just means you're mamash authentic. You know what? You know how amazing it is when you come across a genuinely authentic person. They leave such a sweet taste in your mouth. You're so inspired, or you could feel very inferior or something like that to a real genuinely authentic person. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's really what the Baal Shem Tov was bringing to the world. The ultimate level of authenticity, the ultimate level of essence, relating to essence. And that's how we're meant to relate to Hashem. That's what the Baal Shem Tov brought to the world, with the relationship to Hashem on the level of essence, on the level of who he really is. Not that he's the greatest, not that he's all-knowing and all-powerful and infinite and all this stuff. It's just that he is. That's who you have the relationship with. And that's really called Lishma. Lishma means that you've gone beyond all things. And remember what we compared that to? That old couple, you know, like your Alta Bubby and Zaidi, 70, 80, 90 years old, and they're sitting there after 70 years of marriage. And he's doing the crossword and she's doing the knitting, yeah? And they're sitting there and they're absolutely one. They're absolutely one. And they don't have to be, there's no fireworks, there's no romance left, there's no even physical element probably left anymore. But they're mamash one. And we gave the story. This is the reason why the Baal Shem Tov and a lot of the tzaddikim, they used to love the simple Yidden so deeply. And there's loads of stories about how they would be with all the simple peasant Yidden and like leave all the big, Talmidei Chachomim and Tzaddikim. They would spend more time with the Pashata Yidden. Yeah, why? Because in the Pashat Yid, there is no pretension. There's nothing pretentious. It's real. Why are you doing the mitzvah? It's Ratzon Hashem. Not because there's these big ideas and I'm being miyached, malchus with Yesoid, and we're bringing down the Gimel Chasadim with the Gevuras, and there's a, hashpah going up into Atzilus, and no way. Why is it the mitzvah? It's Ratzon Hashem. It's not about me. It's just, and that is not that a big tzaddik can't do that. He can for sure, but by the simple Yid, it's much, much easier to see. And we gave the story about Rav Manis, my Rebbe spoke about on Pesach with the guy. Remember with the rice breads. There was no matzah. He just found out it's Pesach. It was COVID. And he just found it was Pesach. And he just had to do something. He had to make some kind of seder. So he found 3 rice breads. He found an old bottle of wine. He poured himself the 4 glasses. He read the Haggadah. A completely irreligious Jew. And my Rebbe said that was for sure, without question, the holiest Seder in the world of that year. That's how he said it. That was a Yid doing a mitzvah, not out of rote, not out of religious obligation, out of his Jewishness, out of the fact that he's a Jew. That was it. Like my Rebbe told me also one time, a Yid came up to him and said, Rabbi, if you can give me one reason to keep kosher, I'll keep kosher. I told you this. You know what he said? Imagine being put on the spot like that. A Yid comes up to you and says, give me one reason to keep kosher and I'll keep kosher for the rest of my life. And Rab Manis said, because you're Jewish. And he was musking and he started keeping kosher. Why'd you keep kosher? Because you're Jewish. Jews keep kosher. That's it. We keep kosher. We're Jewish. That was it. And I'll just finish off. I didn't say this last time, but this is the whole Inyan of B'nai Aliyah. I don't know if you even know that the organization that it's not really much of an organization right now. But 1 minute, let me just show you our logo, because I didn't know what the logo. I didn't know. 1 minute. I designed the logo. I like designing logos. It's like I have fun from doing that kind of thing. 1 moment. So this is the logo. Did you see the logo for B'nai Aliyah? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The bird?
Yeah. So when I was designing the logo, this came up. I mean, I made it. And I just knew this was the logo for B'nai Aliyah. I knew it so deeply. And then this guy that I know came and said, why don't you make it a white? And I couldn't care less what he said. I knew this in my kishkas that this was the logo for this organization. And I didn't know why. I didn't know why. I just knew it was the logo. Can anyone tell me anything about this logo? What do you see here? Can you speak about this in any way? Let me give you a little, go on, say something, and then I'll give you a little a little Pesach in maybe.
The fire. Okay,
Go ahead. Now you go.
The fire is Hashem. The bird is a Yid, and the leaf is a mitzvah.
Okay, nice. That's not where I was coming from. I mean, I didn't come up with it. As I saw it, I didn't. Mrs. Abramov, you have a thought?
I don't know, the flame, like you think that's the flame of, you know, the spark, the Jewish spark inside of us. And the bird to me seems like you're going up because they fly. And I don't know, the branch just reminds me of like Noah, but I don't really know how that fits in.
Okay, so it's nothing like either what you said, but this is good. But you'll appreciate this. You remember we spoke about the eye. You remember the mosh of the eye, and the iris is the name, and the black in the middle, the pupil, is the person. Yeah, that's Shem and Etzem. That's name and essence. Yeah. So the fire in the background corresponds to the iris. But in this picture, the pupil has released itself from the iris. The black is formed as a bird. The olive thing is a red herring. Yeah, that's not, but it's a dove. Why? Because doves are known to have the relationship. And this was the message of the Baal Shem Tov, the putting the essence beyond the name, that the name becomes secondary and the essence, the pupil, becomes primary. And it's the pupil that has the relationship. That's where the relationship is. So the imagery is that the black dove is the pupil releasing itself and becoming Iker, not but as it's normally it's very secondary to the iris. When you look in someone's eyes, you're always looking at the color of their eyes and the pattern of their eyes, etc. Yeah. But the message of this is exactly what we've just ended up here is that old couple where the being has become primary and the name has become secondary. Everything about you has become very, very secondary, and you have become very, very primary. And that's where we are. That's our final destination is Yidden, is that relationship with Ribbono Shel Olam. We have now matured and gotten to this place where it's like, you know, he's there doing the crossword, we're there doing the sewing, the knitting, and we're just sitting there with each other. And that's taken 3,335 and a half years to get us to this point now. So Chas v'Shalom, we should think that we are the lowest of generations. Even thinking thinking the idea of generations is already a massive concession. There aren't generations. Am Yisrael is one. We are a nation. Just like we're one in body, all of us together right now, we're like one person. Throughout time as well, we're one person. So we've just been maturing and maturing. We're not better than any previous generations. We are just the product of previous generations, just like you're the product of the 15-year-old girl that you were once, and then the 25-year-old woman that you were once, and then the 35-year-old woman that you were once, and now you're a product of that. So too, we're a product of all the generations that came before us. So it's not like we're comparing to anyone else, but that's where we're holding right now. And that means that we're able to serve Hashem Lishma, because that is Lishma, when you're not doing it for anything, nothing. It's not about the name, it's about him. And that's Lishma. Bezrat Hashem. Okay, look, next week, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to do a review of the entire course. So this part that we just did, we're going to go through it again, but much quicker, like half the speed, half the time. And I'm going to do it as I'm going to create, before I give the class, I'm going to create a multiple choice quiz, test, exam, whatever you want to call it, whatever turns you on. And I would appreciate it if you do the if you do the test, you'll hopefully enjoy it. And all the answers will be given in the class. So you'll be able to, if you wanted to watch the class again and do it, and you'll have, I will prepare the class according to the test. So you can do that, and you'll get a nice certificate as well, B'ezrat Hashem. So that's the goal. But anyway, shkoyach for joining us on this journey. It's been really, it's been fun for me as well.
Thank you so much. So when is the
Thank
next?
you very much.
Sorry, say again?
When is the next class?
Yeah, I will let you know. It's not, I also, Mrs. Above, can you send me your email, or just tell me what is your email? One second. Let me just-